My husband and I booked an Airbnb in Florida for 2 nights. The photos looked really nice. They had a mini private beach with great reviews, so we thought it was all right. Come to find out, the whole thing was glass. Floor to ceiling was. See through glass with no curtains or anything. A bathroom with a rat-and-half door that faced other houses. The only shower was a tiny outdoor one with no door. The worst thing of all is that the Airbnb was directly next to the owner's house, and their balcony looked over the house and shower. They said they never go out on that balcony. But they spent most of the time we were there working out and chilling, where we could see them, and they could see us. The cherry on top. The water was turned off the day we were supposed to go to a wedding, so neither of us could shower or anything. It was an absolute nightmare. After a long and exhausting journey, all you want to do is have a smooth check-in without any waiting. It's happened to all of us from time to time. You're ridden with luggage, exhausted, and you have to wait to enter your Airbnb. For some, it's annoying. For others, it's unbearable. On a particularly dreadful and rainy day in Washington, one guest arrived at the property only to find the key was missing. After some back and forth with the owner to find a solution, the guest insisted he'd find a way to enter the property and hung up. Not exactly what a vacation rental owner wants to hear. The guest decided to throw a rock directly through the glass of the back door to enter the property. After entering and, perhaps, thinking over his decision to bust through the door, he offered to pay for the replacement and went to cover it with insulating plastic the next day until the new glass arrived. A horror story with a happy ending. Guests can find some clever yet costly ways to enter a property when keys aren't readily available. Traditional keys are on the way out, and automated entry is the latest trend, for reasons like this one. Luckily, Logify integrates with technology, like Check, in that allows you to automate your check, ins and pass off a virtual key to guests for entry from their mobile devices. No more lost keys or broken windows. When I used to work for Airbnb, my job was to meet hosts and talk to them in person about their experience. One guy told me how some dude locked himself in the room he was renting and wouldn't come out for days. The host eventually called the cops to have the guy removed because he overstayed his visit and wasn't opening the door. When he finally was removed, the host found feathers everywhere. He couldn't figure out where they were coming from until he opened the closet door and saw blood and more feathers smeared all over the wall. Dude had been practicing voodoo or Santeria or something in the closet, sacrificing chickens. Organized a massive drug deal and got raided by a rival gang. My partner currently manages about 15 Airbnb. We occasionally get assorted crazies, but the most recent incident was a doozy. Basically, from what we can work out, it was booked by a gang. About 7, 10 of them, apparently, of drug dealers from another major city who traveled over to distribute product to local dealers. At some point after lots of coming and going, a rival gang turned up, kicked the front door in, and attacked them all, and I can only assume stole the drugs in question. Blood everywhere. Smashed furniture, ambulances, and a hell of a lot of police then ensued. Even though the police went through the place and searched it, we still ended up with some free weed, so it wasn't all bad. We booked a whole house Airbnb for my husband's cousin's wedding. We were sharing the 2-bedroom house with his brother and sister-in-law. The place was beautiful, up in the mountains with a gorgeous patio. It was perfect. But when we got there, the couple who owned it were home. They told us that they stay in the basement with their 6 kids when people rent it. I kept trying to get away because it was my first trip away from my baby, and I needed to pump breast milk. When I finally just came out and said that I needed some privacy, the host showed me my room and then stood outside the door, regaling me with all of her breastfeeding stories. That night, when we got back from dinner, she was in the kitchen making popcorn for her kids, which was fine, I guess. But we wanted to sit on the deck and have a glass of wine. She wouldn't leave. She kept telling us about how her son was a birder and liked to birdwatch out there. It was so awkward. We just wanted to be left alone. There was no aircon, and it was so hot, but no fans and no screens on the windows. The next morning, I was in the bathroom with the door open because it was so hot. I was in a towel, getting ready when the back door opened and all these kids just ran in. One stopped and just stared at me until I shut the door. When we all came out to go to the wedding, it was like prom. The whole family was in the living room, waiting to see how we were dressed and to take pictures. Listen, they were nice people, but definitely not the vibe I was expecting on this trip. Being an Airbnb host and owning a vacation rental can be rewarding, despite the occasional horror. Meeting and sharing stories with people from all across the globe makes the job worth it. But what if you never signed up to be an Airbnb host? Or worse yet, your house isn't even for rent. This is exactly what happened to one host. That's not actually a host. A property owner noticed that his home was on Airbnb, but he had never signed up, nor hosted anyone, even once. This was a regular run of the mill homeowner who saw his primary residence listed on Airbnb by someone else. Imagine coming home to find guests waiting for you with suitcases in tow for an Airbnb you never were aware of. A definite nightmare. Subscribe for more horror stories.